Hi there, I heard about the Upper Provence Folk Festival and I'm interested in attending. When is it happening this year?
This year's Upper Provence Folk Festival will be held on a weekend in June. Traditionally, it has always been held in May.
That's great to know. I'm planning to bring my kids along. One is 14 years old and the other is 13 years old.
I'm sorry, but they need to purchase tickets. Only children aged 12 or younger can participate in this event for free.
Wonderful. Where exactly is the festival taking place?
The festival will be held at Donaldson Farm. The owner, who is a music lover, has graciously sponsored this event. I'll spell the name for you to help you locate it. Donaldson.
That sounds like a perfect location. How can I purchase tickets for the festival?
To participate in the event, you will need to purchase a combined ticket that allows you access to all activities. Buying single tickets for each activity separately can result in significant fees when accumulated.
I see. What is the schedule for the festival? When should I arrive?
The festival is scheduled to start on Saturday, but the camping service is provided on a first-come, first-served basis. It is recommended to arrive on Thursday to secure your camping spot.
Good to know. Is there anything else I should be aware of while camping?
It is strongly recommended to bring a light with you, as it can get very dark at night, and it's important to ensure the safety of your children.
Thank you for the advice. Are there any special activities for children?
Yes, we have a wide range of options for children, including campfire sing-alongs and nature walks. One of the highlights is the opportunity for children to attend a concert on the last night, where they can even perform music with professional musicians. So you can bring your musical instruments if you want.
That's good to know. What are some essential items we should bring?
Some essential items to bring include sunscreen. Camping often involves spending a significant amount of time outdoors, exposed to the sun's rays. It is important to protect your skin.
That sounds like a lot of fun. What if someone gets injured or feels unwell during the festival?
The emergency station in the camp can handle minor injuries, mosquito bites, and headaches. However, participants should bring their own medicine if they have allergies or asthma.
Is there a medical professional available on site?
Yes, there will be a nurse available at all times. You can consult her if your children feel uncomfortable or have ailments. Additionally, the camping area has hired a doctor as a consultant who will be located in the nearby town. The doctor will be present in the camp only when there is a need to address complicated medical conditions.
Thank you so much for answering all my questions.
You're welcome. If you have any more questions or need further assistance, feel free to reach out. We're here to help. Enjoy the festival.
Section 2. You will hear a talk by a wildlife specialist on a type of bird called a Kiwi. First, look at questions 11 to 15. As you listen to the first part of the talk, answer questions 11 to 15.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Auckland Zoo on this sunny Sunday afternoon and to our special Kiwi fundraising event. My job is to tell you all about the amazing little Kiwi, and your job, hopefully, is to dig deep in your pockets. Now, For the benefit of our overseas visitors here today, I should explain first of all that the kiwi is the national bird of New Zealand, and sometimes New Zealanders themselves are known as kiwis. Now, while kiwis in the wild are a rare sight, the kiwi as a symbol is far more visible. Apart from being in toy stores and airport shops all over the world, you'll find them on our stamps and coins. The kiwi is the smallest member of the genus Apteryx, which also includes ostriches and emu. It gets its name from its shrill call, which sounds very much like this. Kiwi! Kiwi! Kiwis live in forests or swamps and feed on insects, worms, snails and berries. It's a nocturnal bird with limited sight, and therefore it has to rely on its very keen sense of smell to find food and to sense danger. Its nostrils are actually right on the end of its long beak, which is 1/3 of the body length. Now, here's an interesting fact. Although kiwis have wings, they serve little purpose, because the kiwi is a flightless bird. Since white settlement of the islands, kiwi numbers have dropped from 12 million to less than 70,000. And our national bird is rapidly becoming an endangered species. This is because they're being threatened by what we call introduced animals. Animals which were brought to New Zealand, such as cats and ferrets, which eat kiwi eggs and their chicks.
Now look at questions 16 to 20. As the talk continues, answer questions 16 to 20.
And so we have launched the Kiwi Recovery Programme in an all-out effort to save our national bird from extinction. There are 3 stages to this programme. Firstly, we have the scientific research stage. This involves research to find out more about what kiwis need to survive in the wild. Then secondly, we have the action stage. This is where we go into the field and actually put our knowledge to work. We call this putting science into practice. And then we come to the 3rd stage, the global education stage. By working with schools and groups like yourself, as well as through our award-winning Kiwi website, we are hoping to educate people about the plight of the kiwi. As part of the action stage, which I just mentioned, we've introduced Operation Nest Egg, and this is where your money will be going. It works like this. It's a 3-stage process. First of all, we go out to the kiwi's natural habitat and we collect kiwi eggs. This is the tricky part, because it can be very difficult to find the eggs. Then, in safe surroundings, away from predators, the chicks are reared. Now, this can be done on predator-free islands or in captivity. They're reared until they're about 9 months old, at which stage the chicks are returned to the wild. So far, it's proving successful. And since we started the programme, some 34 chicks have been successfully raised this year, and their chances of survival have increased from 5 to 85%. However, it's not time to celebrate kiwi survival just yet. About 95% of kiwi chicks still don't make it to 6 months of age without protection. Which is why Operation Nest Egg is so important. And we ask you to give generously today.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Section 3. You will hear 2 sports physiotherapy students called John and Kath preparing a joint presentation on foot injuries in sports players. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26 on page 4. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
I've had a look at your draft presentation plan and compared it with mine, Kath, and we seem to have the same basic structure. We've both included the same 3 main sections, that's the anatomy of the foot, the injuries and the treatment, and we've organised our presentations in the same way. But the types of sports we've chosen to illustrate the possible injuries aren't the same.
I'll deal with the anatomy bit. I've got notes and a handout on that from Professor Gilligan's lecture.
Oh, I was hoping to do that. I've downloaded some useful stuff. I do think we should limit this section, though. We don't want to spend much time on anatomy when the main focus is on the treatment.
That's true, but in the last section, maybe the 2 of us could show how some of these therapies actually work. I could be the patient and you could do the treatment.
Good idea, because it's hard to find pictures as injuries are mostly internal. It would be good to hear some first-hand accounts from injured athletes too.
Yeah, but we don't have time.
No. Should we then discuss different types of heel injury? It's worth pointing out that these vary enormously in how bad they are. It might be just a pulled muscle, or a bone injury which needs surgery. Sometimes only an expert can tell the difference.
Excellent. I'll do the slides on that. Leave that one to me.
Now, what about causes of heel injuries?
Well, it's easy enough to list them. Overuse, improper footwear.
Yes, incorrect running style.
They're all relevant, but for simplicity, let's just pick one cause. Say, stuff about changing your training habits suddenly.
You mean like suddenly doing a lot of mountain training? Yes, that's a good idea. And there was research on that in the latest edition of Physio Journal, wasn't there? Professor Gilligan recommended it to us.
Great. You can leave the bit on stretching techniques to me. I really like all that stuff.
So, what's going to be your approach there?
Well, I'll summarise all the various techniques with visual support, and then I'll make the point that the stretching should be carefully managed. Obviously, you have to be careful not to overstretch and to stretch only when your muscles are warmed up. Otherwise, you could do yourself more harm than good. It's also important that on a supervised programme, stretching is later on combined with balance exercises, which stretch and also strengthen the muscles.
OK then.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30 on page 5. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
It's always useful to have some information on case studies at the end, in case we're short of material. Did you manage to find anything?
Yes, a female runner in her 30s talking about her treatment for a swollen heel. Initially, she rested the injury. This did help to reduce the swelling, although it was still a little bit uncomfortable. Then she applied an ice pack to the injury twice a day.
Did that work?
Well, she persisted with this treatment for the first month, but decided it wasn't helping. After this period, she was shown how to use deep tissue massage techniques and was surprised at how much freedom of movement this created in her foot.
Wasn't she having ultrasound treatment?
Yes, she was having sessions at the hospital, but she remained unconvinced about its value. She felt the same about the balancing exercises she was prescribed.
OK, that's interesting. I looked at the aftercare programme of a male sprinter who was allowed to do some sports activity as part of his rehabilitation. After 4 months of treatment, he did some light running on grass, wearing shoes that gave plenty of support to his injured heel.
So it didn't hurt?
Well, he found the heel was sore afterwards, and the same happened with some jumping exercises he was asked to try.
Did he go to the gym and use weights?
Yes, after a few weeks. And if he used light weights, he could train without pain. He also tried cycling and found this beneficial, as his foot was not making contact with the ground. He expected a similar result with swimming, but found the repetitive kicking motion was actually aggravating the injury.
Well, both these case studies have value.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 4 on page 6.
Part 4.
You will hear part of a lecture in a business class talking about a global petrol company, Telsa's expansion and its future development. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the second lecture in our series on chain stores in the UK. Today, I'll be focusing on a very successful global petrol company called Telsa, paying particular attention to their expansion and future development. There will be time for questions at the end, so please refrain from interrupting during the talk. When it was founded, the company was a family-run organisation with only one shop open in a small town in southern England. The family was able to compete with other local companies by offering special discounts for returning customers, which resulted in a massive expansion of their client base. This strategy was so successful that they were able to open petrol stations across the country, subsequently increasing their market share in England. Within a decade, Telsa was running establishments throughout the UK, including Wales and Scotland. By comparing the sales income from all of their stores, they were able to collect data that highlighted which areas were the most profitable stations in the south of Scotland. They discovered that by closing the less useful stations in the south of Scotland, they could increase income from their other more profitable stations. This example demonstrates the importance of continually monitoring and maintaining a clear view of the finances of the company. Once the expertise required to run the company had exceeded the abilities of the family, they needed to hire professional consultants. After assessing the company's financial statements, the consultants advised that Telsa close the head office of the convenience stores in Oxford. They deemed the head office unnecessary and identified it as a financial drain on the company, as the premises were expensive to run and generated no income. To avoid firing any employees, they transferred over 200 staff to other offices and retrained them to carry out their new roles. Now that Telsa had conquered the petrol market in the UK, they were able to branch out into other niche areas that offered prospects for profits. They realised that they could establish a new environmentally friendly brand image by selling fresh food in their convenience stores that had been grown by local farmers. This strategy would not only broaden the scope of the company, but also help to strengthen its relationships with local communities. Every year, Telsa holds a meeting in London where all of the consultants and managers meet to discuss plans for development and improvement. These meetings are essential to the evolution of the company, as feedback is heard from all levels of the organisation, from the sales staff to the CEOs. They did this by assigning every manager the task of holding staff discussions, at which ideas and concerns would be passed on for evaluation at the meeting. Telsa decided to accommodate the individuality of each of their stores, instead of forcing them to conform to one overriding company identity. They realised that by increasing the flexibility of the profit-making strategies of each of the retail stores, they subsequently became more commercially successful. The level of staff satisfaction also doubled as a result. Individuals felt they were not being constrained to one way of thinking. To avoid misunderstandings and mistakes, any future changes were introduced in stages to familiarise the staff with the new regulations. Now, it's time to conclude the lecture for today, so I will leave you with some food for thought before you go. To run a successful business, one cannot underestimate the importance of maintaining open-mindedness when deciding on strategies for expansion. Sometimes it's necessary to employ an independent consultant who can offer an objective and unbiased view on the running of your company. Emotion will only ever cloud your ability to make business-related decisions. Research suitable case studies and look at how department stores, for example, were able to alter their organisational structure while minimising costs and staff redundancies. Precedents are an essential resource when it comes to making decisions for your own business, so don't undervalue them. Well, that wraps up our lecture for today. If there are any questions?
That is the end of part 4. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to part 4. That is the end of the listening test.